Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today, the CW is slowly turning into a sports network. We'll tell you what's happening there, but it's increasingly shifting its focus, along with many other networks, mostly to sports. Also, daytime TV is coming to an end. All those daytime reruns and talk shows and more are increasingly becoming an extinct existence on TV as syndicated television becomes a thing of the past. We'll tell you what's happening as ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS stations are ditching syndicated television for more local news, national news, and lifestyle programming. Also, ESPN wants to own everything in the world of sports. They're in talks to buy another sports streaming service. We'll tell you which one and what's probably happening here and more coming up in a quick second. First though, I'm going to give you my opinion on these stories. If you want to read them for yourself, come up with your own opinion, check out the show notes and in the first pinned comment, I'll put a link to each story there so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own thoughts. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, doing one or both, lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. All right, let's dive into it. The CW is reportedly close to a deal to become the new home as one of the primary partners for an expanded Pac-12 college sports. Now, with this, CBS would be primary and the CW would be secondary, but they would get more games. This comes as the CW is increasingly broadcasting more and more sports. They have some ACC content. They've had a little bit of Pac-12 since when that conference shrunk to just 2 teams. It's now expanding again and adding new teams and getting a new TV rights deal that will reportedly see CBS as the primary partner and the CW getting a lot more games as the secondary partner. This comes as the CW is getting more and more. Live Golf has been on there. We've seen NASCAR and other sports join the CW with this. And while CW still isn't a 24/7 sports network, increasingly a large portion of their lineup is becoming sports-related content. Why? Well, it's very simple. You heard me talk about this many times. 2 main things people watch live TV for. Live TV is the most profitable type of TV because if you're watching live, you're more likely to actually watch the commercials. Number 1, sports. Number 2, news. And news is a distant second behind sports. And that's why we've seen things like National Pickleball on prime time on CBS. And now you're seeing the CW increasingly trying to sign more and more sports to its network. We'll keep an eye on this, but the CW is increasingly turning into a sports network. And it's not just them. Increasingly, many major broadcast TV networks are. Even things like ION, which has struck some deals with the WNBA, are getting into sports because it's one of the few things advertisers are willing to pay well for. All right, next up, the end of syndicated daytime TV. Increasingly, daytime TV is becoming a thing of the past. Historically, you turn on the TV for your local ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and outside of like noon news broadcasts, you would find a lot of reruns of Judge Judy, People's Court, soap operas, daytime television shows, and more. We've seen this slowly, gradually fade away. Soap operas are increasingly becoming a thing of the past, some of them moving over to streaming only. And we're seeing it, especially with Nexstar-owned stations, which is the largest provider of local television stations in the country, that a majority of the television now is news, local lifestyle programming, and the like. At my local Nexstar-owned TV station, only 2 hours a day between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. broadcasts new or typical syndicated TV. Increasingly seeing lifetime lifestyle programming, local news, expanding 4 p.m., 11 a.m. broadcasts, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. broadcasts, and more of local news. And then you're also seeing lifestyle programming. And the only 2 things is a talk show and TMZ News, which you could even try to categorize as news. But you're even seeing things like NBC launch daytime hour-long programs, much like its even news block, to nationally broadcast. So why are we seeing more news? Well, you heard me talk about it a second ago. News is one of the 2 things people actually watch live, driving up the viewership. Why watch reruns of classic shows when I can go on many different streaming services and find them either ad-free or a lot less ads than watch them on NBC or ABC or Fox, for example? Keep an eye on this. Increasingly, we're seeing this become more and more popular. And while your experience may vary depending on who owns your local stations, Local news is expanding. It's relatively cheap to produce, and it helps drive up ad revenue with it. So let me know, are you surprised to see the end of local news here? Or the end of local daytime television and expanding for news? I apologize. All right, ESPN is suddenly in the talks to buy everything. They just struck a deal to buy the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone and other NFL assets. They're reportedly in talks to buy MLB.TV. We talked about that last week. That deal is close to being done there. And now it is being reported out there that the UFC streaming service will reportedly, or is close to talks to buy UFC Fight Passes, allows you to buy access to UFC events streaming through their app. Well, what's happening here? Well, the fight to get everything news and sports is very big right now. ESPN wants to get as much sports content into their app to justify people buying their app or paying money through it to keep them in business. As you know, those daytime sports shows, we've seen declining viewership on things like SportsCenter and more, as increasingly sites have shown people are switching over to things like YouTube to get highlights of their sporting content. The other thing that may be happening here is this happens a lot in business. You know, you talk to a lot of potential places. You want to expand, you want to buy up some more resources. And I may really want that. Let's just say MLB is the primary. I don't know this, but let's just say MLB is what they really want. But they're not certain they're going to get that deal. So they're also talking to UFC and maybe this place or that place and other streaming services that maybe they buy up. It's possible they intend to buy both the MLB.TV and UFC Fight Pass, or it may be like, hey, if MLB doesn't work out, we'll also pick up Fight Pass to offset that. We'll keep a close eye on this. I think Disney's on a big buying spree. They want to see consolidation. There's too many services out there, and they want to try to consolidate everything into its new ESPN streaming service. We'll keep an eye on this, but for now, just reported on both MLB.TV and UFC Fight Pass. But the NFL Network deal is done. We just don't know when that's going to close. All right, next up, we got another data breach, folks. It's not if your data is going to be exposed, it's how many times has it already been exposed. This time, we're seeing a report. Now, this is not directly cord cutting, but hang in here, I'm going to tie it in. Farmers Insurance report over 1 million customers' data has been exposed, and they're working to resolve that issue. A few things here. It's just the reality that your data is going to get exposed. A few things you need to do right now. Get some credit monitoring here. And don't just say, oh, I got the one offered by my bank. I would consider maybe getting a paid one. Shop around at the different options with that. There are many of them out there that offer additional features than what many that are just included with your credit card or with your bank offer. 2, be very careful about passwords. Do not reuse passwords from a paid service to a free service, and especially never reuse the password at all, ever, that's tied to your bank account. Turn on as many two-factor authentications as you can. Use the authentication app to be even more secure in other ways. But I really would encourage you, I've been seeing a lot of these happen. Try to crack down on protecting yourself by being proactive. Not just saying, well, maybe I'll get compromised. You've already probably been compromised in your personal data multiple times. It's just a matter of when somebody tries to use it, not if they use it. So try to use a lot of things. Get credit monitoring, set up two-factor authentications, change your passwords often, and don't reuse passwords. Keep that in mind. Because increasingly, I'll tell you this, one of the things they like to do is take those usernames and passwords they get, apply them to streaming services, and then sell your login to Netflix, HBO Max, or other places. And they get money from people who are trying to buy streaming services with that. Keep that in mind. There's a cord cut and tie in there. All right, next up, you heard me talk about sports being what people want to watch. Well, according to reports, more live sports are coming to HBO. Not reports, this is confirmed. HBO Max is getting more sports, as TNT and True TV and more are getting more sports also. Warner Bros. Discovery has struck a deal to be the new home, or one of the new homes, for Big 12 college sports. So with this football season kicking off, we had a week 0 last week. Week 1 opens this weekend. I'm very excited. Big football fan. Bigger college football fan than I am pro. But with that, you're going to see a lot more college sports appearing on Max with your sports streaming add-on if you have it, if the ad-free plan. And inside TNT, True TV, and TBS. A lot more sports. We've said this over and over. Sports drives up ad revenue in a way that reruns and even new original shows do not, because increasingly it's the only thing people watch live. But HBO Max getting more sports with this deal. All right. Fox One launched last week. It's sports-focused streaming service that also has things like Fox News, Fox Business, Fox Weather in it. Is now available on Amazon Prime Video. If you use Amazon Prime Video to manage your subscriptions to multiple streaming services, you can now subscribe and watch Fox One through your Prime Video app and manage it all here, not to have separate passwords or logins or any of that. Really nice way to do it. I use Prime Video when I'm rotating services. It's the main way I do that. But it's now available. Fox One, with live access to FS1, local Fox, FS2, Big Ten Network, and more, is now streaming through the Amazon Prime Video app as an add-on. It's an extra cost. Don't forget that. All right, Paramount has tapped a big Star Trek fan to take over its originals with Star Trek on the Radar. Following its merger with Skydance, Paramount's new leadership, remember they're shaking up everything, putting new leadership in pretty much every major role, has hired a long-time television executive and big Star Trek fan, Chris Parnell. I hope I pronounced that right. Dyslexic guy here, often butcher those names. Huge experience in the world of television, experience at Sony, Apple TV, and more with that. Is going to take over original production of content for Paramount Plus and Paramount. And Star Trek reportedly is going to be a big part of that, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But many people are excited because he's a big fan, and they hope that means they'll get more fan service with some of the new Star Trek content. I know I've been very excited about a Star Trek Legacy show. I really enjoyed the 3rd season of Picard. Would love to see that story continue with the Enterprise there. Fingers crossed that the so-called Star Trek Legacy may actually get greenlit now. We'll wait and see. All right, we talked a lot about how some of the hardest hit networks with cord cutting is youth programming, as increasingly the age of things like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and more are aging. While they may target elementary, middle school age kids, increasingly they're now seeing their viewership go 18 plus. It seems like Nickelodeon is going to be leaning into that a little bit and now bringing back reruns of classics like Rugrats, Hey Arnold, The Fairly Odd Parents, and more to Teen Nick and Nick Jr. I think two things. A, they own the content. It's a quick, cheap way versus creating new content on a network not getting a lot of viewership. But B, there's a bit of fan service here happening, right? If you're an adult flipping through channels and you see an episode of Rugrats pop up and you grew up with Rugrats, maybe you'll stop and watch it versus some show you've never heard of. And with the average age of viewers on many of these networks creeping higher and higher, it's maybe a way they're doing it. We'll keep an eye on it. These new shows will be hitting these networks in mid-September. Find our story in the show notes for full details about that. But this came from Nick Alive. They first reported it. It's great to see, though, classic shows coming back there with it. All right, this one was interesting. This came from a report at Variety that says Disney is reportedly trying to win back young males. Disney has seen their viewership in the young male demographic dramatically drop recently. And now Disney's looking at creating new original programming targeting that demographic. Originally, Star Wars and Marvel content heavily brought in that young male group. But in recent years, they've heavily lost it. And now, according to sources that have talked to Variety, Disney is working very hard to specifically target that next generation. It's always that thing. You always have to get the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. And we'll have to wait and see. But Disney making changes to reach young male. What do you think of that? My rule book is always make good content. Make good content focus on your audience, not what you want. A lot of creators struggle with that. They make stuff they want, but they don't really think about the fact that somebody's watching this. Is this an enjoyable experience to watch, not just an enjoyable thing for you to make? It's an important thing to remember there. But let me know what you think of Disney reportedly looking to try to reach back to young males. All right, deal of the day. Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K is still at a record low price of $29.99 with a limited time coupon. You need to use the coupon link in the show notes down below. This is the lowest price ever for a crazy powerful Fire TV streaming stick. Check it out, link in the show notes. And lastly, YouTube, according to the BBC, is secretly using AI to retouch videos. They're taking videos, resharpening them right now on YouTube Shorts. But if you have noticed a video that looks a little AI generated, things feel a little plastically, the color or the hair, something feels off. According to the BBC, YouTube, without talking to the creators, is automatically retouching some videos. Leave me a comment what you think about that. Now, YouTube's offered creators tools that will automatically, balance out the shakiness in a video, brighten a video, level out the audio in videos and different things like that. But it's always been the creator taking advantage of these tools, right? And editing their videos using the YouTube editor. Now, this appears to be YouTube automatically doing it without even mentioning it to content creators. I'm not necessarily against it. I do wish, though, that they had notified content creators and give them the option to opt out. YouTube, for example, has done things like on our channel now, we're in auto dubbing, which means content creators like us get their content auto dubbed into things like Spanish, German, all kinds of different languages. I've had several people comment they listen to me in Spanish now. I know nothing of Spanish, but YouTube automatically dubs it and it offers that as an option. I've seen videos of other people watch a really great video, and it wasn't until the end when I went down and looked at the comments, I noticed a message saying this has been dubbed from German to English. And I was surprised. I did not notice. Of course, it was just one person talking. It wasn't like a group of people. Maybe I would have detected it more in that situation. But I was very impressed with the quality of the auto translation. Anybody here listening to me in Spanish or another language? Leave me a comment. Let me know. I want to hear from you. Do you like the auto translation? Well, I want to hear your thoughts. But a lot of people are upset about the not being notified. I'm very aware that YouTube now offers that ability to auto dub. I'm perfectly fine with it. I hope that helps us reach more people around the world. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Until then, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.